Hi, it's Simon. Right, if you've ever made a to-do list and then felt more overwhelmed by it building up than it actually helping you, you're in the right place. This week's video continues my Notion from Scratch series on building a Notion productivity system from scratch. This episode is my Notion tutorial on creating recurring tasks and project reports in Notion. It is in fact part 3 of my larger task manager build in the series, so you can either go and watch those previous videos first, or just watch this one for inspiration and a guide on how you can set up recurring tasks in Notion. Now, video 4 coming after this is on subtasks and dependencies and will follow very soon. So first of all, I should say I actually started filming these months ago. So it was way before Notion announced all these amazing new features that changed how we could do this. So I refilmed it. So thank you to everyone for waiting on this. There's been such a kind of backlog of other stuff I've been doing with the templates. It's finally here. You can also find the full series playlist in the description, a step-by-step guide to building your own life operating system in Notion, all whilst helping you learn the fundamentals of Notion as an all-in-one productivity workspace. So make sure you are subscribed here too if you're looking to improve at using Notion, as well as other tools and tech to make your life a little bit easier. And if you are new to Notion, this is a great place to start. If you've an old hand, you'll also love the advanced features and stages of these builds for more powerful formulas and ideas on how to get the most out of the platform. And finally, it's worth saying that everything you see in this build is part of my LifeOS Notion templates, so you might like to check out the full tour video of either my Notion LifeOS or simplified Notion systems first via the description, or you could just scrap all of this and go download them at bettercreating.com. Let's jump in. The first thing I'm going to do, because it's been a long time since I made the last video in this series due to all the changes that kept happening, is actually update the view here. We have this view by date. Now, this was a board view originally, which had a filter by a due date formula, which said whether or not it was this week or not. But since then, Notion have actually brought out a calendar view by week. So I'm actually just going to duplicate this. So you can click on here and duplicate. We're going to change the board to a calendar and we're going to show it by week, by due date. There you'll see exactly the same view, but in a much clearer format, which I think is great. And this can be removed. So it just has done is not checked and related project is not empty. And then you can go into properties and essentially view what you want to view within this. So for example, we might want to put in the done box, the daily priority, and let's say the project, for example. And I think I might just move done down and that up. The other thing that's happened recently is you can now adjust the icons. So we could do some details like that if we wanted to. So I'm just going to leave it like that. So that is essentially that view now created as a calendar view, which does mean you can move things around really nicely in it. The next thing we're going to do within this project is add a deadline view, which I promised in the last video, and that is a deadline calendar, but I'm actually going to pop that in a section to the right here. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to return this, drop that underneath, so I've got a little box. I'm going to do /column and create 2 columns, move action up into one of those columns and the entire database, and then we can adjust this column, which is really nice. Now over here, I'm going to do the same thing, /h3. I'm going to call this deadlines view. We're going to do /color and then go down to the background and make that match if you want to make it look like this. And here we're going to do /table, a table view, and we're going to select tasks. We're going to keep the system view, and we're going to call this one deadline calendar. You can adjust this. So maybe let's do an alarm. There you go. If we click into these dots, we're going to go to the layout and turn that into a calendar. And you could do 2 views here. You could do exactly the same as we've done over here with the week, but I'm going to stick with the month, leave that in there. I can hide tasks, and into the layout again, we just want to check that rather than it being due date, we're actually going to go with deadline. And then that will show everything by its deadline. So if we set Chat with Pepper to have a deadline of tomorrow, there you will see Chat with Pepper down the bottom. Then we want to filter the view. So we're going to go into filters, and I'm just going to select done. Let's do it as an advanced filter so it's out of the way. Where done is not checked. And I want to add a second rule, and where related project is not empty. And again, it's exactly the same filter as elsewhere. You have to have added it to a project and not checked it as done to be able to see it in this view. Now, once we've done that, I might want to go into properties and make sure that I can see the tick box. I might want to see the related project, the daily priority, and again, I might want to now move those around a little bit like that. And then the final thing we want to do is sort by daily priority, which will allow you to, in each view, see what you need. Now, that's great, but you could also jump in here, duplicate that view, call it a week. You'll have exactly the same thing, but we can then go into the layout and turn it into a week. And you have a week view there as well. So that's how we're going to create our deadline calendar. So you've now got due dates for tasks this side and deadline dates for tasks on this side. Pretty cool, and a really useful way just to keep track of tasks that absolutely have firm deadline dates. That's why we're doing that. Now what I want to do is move on to creating a filtered view of tasks by the project. What we're going to do is jump into this menu and click through to the project dashboard that we built previously with our weekly review on. And I'm going to start here with projects. And what we want to now work on is this project template that we set up the basics for in the previous video. I'm going to go and click on edit this template and click edit. You can do what you like within here. I'm going to show you how to build a filtered view of tasks and use a couple of the new Notion buttons that are, again, come out since those previous videos. So /, I'm going to just show you a nice design feature as well I've been using recently on my LifeOS templates, which is a call out. Change this icon. You can even do something like a custom icon using my icon packs, pretty cool. But I'm just going to do this here, and I'm just going to call this one overview. Now, I really like the look of this as a default background, and then you end up with this really nice little line in there. If you return, drop something into that space, you've then got triple dash, little line, for example, and you could just have a simple setup like that, where you might want to drop your project overview in. And on my Notion LifeOS, I've actually been doing this, which is to make the title grey. It just gives it this nice kind of focused look, which I think is really cool. Now that will limit things on a mobile. It will just squeeze it in a little bit, but I personally don't mind it. And I'm actually going to change the color of this to blue. So that's our project overview. Then I'm going to do my original version, which is a heading, and call this one live tasks. I'm going to make that a background color of grey. Below this, I want to put in a view of the tasks. And this is pretty simple. You're going to do a table again, /table, table view, and select your task database. There it is. So I'm going to select this system view, and I'm going to call this one project tasks. In here, I'm going to move the done column to the start, and we can reduce it down if we want to do that. And I just want to adjust the view of this quickly. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to hide the due date. Now I'm going to make this a filtered view. So the way to do that is this. We're editing a template. So I want to select filter, and I want to add an advanced filter, and I want to do where related project contains new project. Now that is this template. It's always the one at the top of the list if you're unsure. So I select that, and you'll see there is nothing in it. I can go up, and actually I'm going to call this a template. It really helps to have that so that when you are looking to link filters, you know what's the template and what's not. So there you go, I filtered by that. Now what you might normally do here is you might add a filter here, as we have with all the others, which is where done is unchecked, so that you only see incomplete tasks. But I'm actually not going to do that here because I would like to be able to see the tasks that have been completed. So instead, you might like to filter by done so that you can see what is done and what is still yet to be done. One step you could go even further than that is to actually change the property of done into the new status. And that would allow you to change it to not started, in progress, and done. And it also allows you, if you click on show as, to choose whether you see it as a checkbox or whether you see it as a select. If you see it as a select, you'll have the option to select these. So this is really nice because if we had it as a select instead of a checkbox, the filters will still be working. If we go back to the main home screen, you'll see the done is clearly still working here. And if we look at the filter, so there it is, you'll see that the filter has actually updated just to be where done is not done. So it won't break it if you want to change it to a status view. And to show you what I mean, we can select this, edit the property, and we can make that view, for example, a checkbox. It does mean then if I want to click into Chat to Pepper, I can still select in progress and done, and it will adjust. So that's a really nice thing to do if you want to adjust that view. Now, a quick note on if you do change everything to a status column, make sure that the formula is reading correctly where it says done is not done. You might find when it updates, this isn't correct. Depends on how you've input the formula, but make sure that all of your views are filtered in the right way so that when you click on your views, it says is not done. So I'm just going to go through them, look at my to-do list, filter, open the filters, done. Good. If we now go back to the project dashboard, we'll go into the template again and edit. I'm going to keep the status view, which I really like. But what we can also now do is go to group by done, and you get this lovely view of what is not started, in progress, and what is done. Now, I think that is a really, really helpful view of live tasks for a project, and that's how I'm going to leave mine. Now, let's just see this in action. That's the project template. If we now go back into the bungee jumping career view, that's the old version we had. So if you have done this build before, you can delete everything within a page and then select new project template. And you'll see it's updated the view to show me that I have one example task complete related to the project and one that is not started. And it's updated the view with the new design that we had. This is the power of using templates. And just look, if I select everything and delete it, you can just restart, reselect the template, and it will reformat, and you won't lose any of the stuff that's linked to it, other than the content, of course, that was in the page. But we can go much further with a couple of buttons. So let me show you this. If we jump back out again, and we're going to go back into editing the template, I want to create a mark as reviewed button. So I'm going to do /button here, drop that in. I'm going to move the button up to the top, and we're going to call this mark project as reviewed. Now, these buttons are essentially little automations. I'm going to put a little timer on it. We're going to add a step, edit pages in, select the database, projects, and I'm going to click where project is this page. Really powerful. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to select a property, click that last review date column that we created in our weekly review system, and then I'm going to select today. If I click done, when you review a project, you can click this button and it will automatically change the last review date to today. Now, of course, you can click in here and change the date in the project, but what I love about this, if we go back out into my bungee jumping career, delete everything again, and reselect the template, you see last review was the 7th, it was due a while ago, so when I last made this, click mark project as reviewed and it will update it. I just think it's so much quicker to do that, and that is a mark project as review button. Now, you can also create a add new tasks button in here, and it's very much the same process. So if we go back into the template, to always do it in the template, I'm going to create another button here, add pages to, tasks. We can leave it untitled actually, can't we? I'm going to go create new task, give it a little tick button. There you go. Why don't we call it create new project task? Because what we're going to do is edit another property and we're going to add related project is this page, not new project template, because that will edit the template. We want it to be the page that this always is. You can edit any other things in there. For example, you could do daily priority, could be preset, for example, to as and when, for example, until you changed it. And we're going to add another step, and that is to open the page. We're going to open the new page added, and I want to do that in center peak. That will mean that it will create a new task and you can fill it in and leave it and it will always be related to the project. In the same way that you've got this mark project as reviewed, and you could just put these up the top like this. That is a little taster of the new button automations. Now, the final thing I want to do with projects before we move on to recurring tasks is create a quick project report view, and we're going to do that within the project database. Now, there's loads of ways to do this. If I jump into my system here, there are many different things, from next review reports, how many projects, tasks there are, and a percentage of tasks complete, all of that kind of stuff. This is in my Life OS system. For today, I just want to show you some of the fundamental ideas of reporting, and we're going to create first of all, a total tasks report for the project. So we'll do it here in this board view on the project's dashboard. I'm going to click into the little dots, and I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to click and create a new property. Now what's really exciting, I don't know if you've seen this, new AI blocks. Very exciting. Maybe we'll look at that in a future video. So I'm going to jump to create a roll-up. Now a roll-up is going to roll up information related to the project that it's connected to. So we're going to click roll-up. I'm going to call this one simply total tasks. Now I want to select the relation as related tasks, and I want to select the property. Now you could just count them, you could select what's done. Currently it's just showing all of the tasks, as you can see. But for now, I'm just going to literally do the task, and I'm going to count all. There it is, there's the number. The problem on a board though is that you can only see the number, there's no information related to it. So this means we're going to leave that roll up completed, which is looking great. So again, you can see it here, related tasks. Property doesn't really matter, it's just the name of the task, and I'm counting all of them. Now we're going to add a new property, so I'm going to go back into properties and new property, and this time we're going to do a formula, and this is going to be total tasks report. Now for this we're going to use something called a concat formula, so I'm going to click onto formula, and we're going to do concat, open some parentheses, and I'm going to click to my edit button, emojis and symbols, there you go, tick. This is just really for the look. Let's get rid of that. Close that off. I leave the space in, comma, and then I want to add format, which is going to format the total tasks, comma, then another bit of text, space, tasks, and I've missed a comma off format. There you go. You can copy this down if you want to, and you'll see now, if we click done, that we have 2 tasks. There's many ways we could edit this. You could go back in here and say a total of 2 tasks. There you go. The other thing we'll probably want to now do is we'll make this a tick box, and I'm going to go back out and go back into properties, and I want to just hide total tasks now so it's nice and clean. Now the other thing we might want to do is create a report of how many tasks are complete. So I'm going to select this total tasks roll up and duplicate it, and I'm going to call this one total completed. For this, I want the property to actually relate to the status, and calculate, I want to count per group and count complete, and it will say 1 of 2. Now what you might want to do is do it as a percentage per group of complete, which I think is nice. So we've got the completed tasks roll up and the total tasks roll up. Something I really like doing in a board is we go back into the total tasks report and edit the formula, and we're going to say total task with percentage complete of. And then the reason we want to do that is we can then jump back to our completed tasks, show it with a percentage complete of 50%, it's 2 tasks, 50% of them are done. I can make that look even better by selecting a bar, and I'm going to make the color blue. You can show the number or not. And I think that is a really great way to display the results. Obviously, wherever you're going to put this, so if we now jump back to the home, you're going to need to show them in the right order, but that's pretty easily done. We go to properties, we're going to first of all show the task report. I want to show that in the view, or you can just do it by clicking the button, and we're going to say completed tasks. And that is how you can show a completed task view and the number of tasks in a project. Now you can go much further, as I say, with this when it comes to subtasks and so on and so forth. So before we jump into adding recurring tasks into the system, please make sure to drop a like below if you're finding this useful. It goes a really long way. And definitely get subscribed here too if you haven't, by also turning on the bell notifications to make sure you don't miss the next videos in the series. Next in the series, we'll be setting up subtasks in the build, but there's loads of other Notion and productive content coming too on the channel, ideas, tools, tech to make your life better. Yeah, right, recurring task templates and action dashboard views. If we look at my Notion Live OS and just jump into my inbox view so you can have a little look at this. This is a recurring task for me. You'll see there's a little arrow on it. If I click here, you basically have the ability to set any item as in a database now to repeat daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and then select the days. Particularly if you select weekly, you can do things like have it across certain days at certain times, setting a time zone, which I really like. The way we're going to do it is we're going to create a recurring task template to duplicate as a template, if that makes sense. So let's have a little look how this works. So we're going to go in here. We can do it anywhere there's a task database. There's our new main task. I'm going to essentially duplicate that, and we're going to call this one recurring task template. I'm going to change the icon for the arrow. I'm going to change this, and in the daily priority, I'm going to delete that and put a new one called recurring today. And actually, I don't like the color of it, so I'm going to just make that a light gray. In here, I'm also going to edit this property, and I'm going to add in progress a recurring today, and we're going to make that light grey as well. Now, the reason this is helpful is it means we'll know what it is, and in the dashboard views, we'll also be able to filter by it later in the status view. Now, if you choose not to use status and you're just keeping this as a checkbox, make sure that it's pre-formatted with daily priority, recurring today, and you would filter by that instead. But I recommend doing it by status if you can. I'm actually going to hide these, always hide these views because they don't need to be seen. I'm just going to edit this. Yeah, that should be set to recurring today. Don't forget to do that. So that's our template, and you should now see new main task, recurring task template. So to create a new recurring task in this system, we would simply do this. We would select this and duplicate it. You would call it Watch Better Creating on YouTube, for example. That's it. You don't touch these because it's not going to be related to that situation. There we go. So Watch Better Creating on YouTube. I'm then going to select this, set the repeat every week. I'm on Fridays at 3 p.m. UK, not on Tuesdays, and I save it. And that will essentially generate that item into the system at that point in time. That's really powerful. The problem will be is that in our action this week or action today, it won't turn up. So there is the option here to do a couple of things. If you want to see it in your analog view, then what you're going to need to do is in Watch Better Creating, you're going to go to edit that, add to this week, and you just need to set the day that it would appear, and it will just generate it and drop it into the analog view. That is probably the best version of this. If you want it by date, we need to filter by date a little bit differently. So for the filtering of dates, why don't we go to our new view, and in here, what I'm going to do is make this recur Tuesday 1821. I'm going to set that today at 22. There you go. Now we're going to wait and see if it will appear. It's ready to go. And there it is, it just turned up. Now you'll notice when it turned up into our inbox. So all we need to do now with our recurring tasks is make sure that the filtered views are working then. So there's a couple of things we can do. The first one, if we click onto the analog view, it should be showing here. This one works because this is purely by tag. So this is a brilliant solution for recurring tasks if you're just doing it by tag and not by date. We know it isn't working, for example, for our view here. Of course, I can add it to a project. If I do that, it disappears, but we don't see it turn up on the correct day. And that is because it doesn't have a due date. So if I undo that just to show you. So the first thing we're going to do is add a new property down here, and we're just going to go straight down and just add a created time. You could call it created date if it makes more sense to you, but essentially it's just a useful reference. I might just make mine go day, month, year because I like it like that. Wow, we've now got a create date. So we're going to now need to create a formula. Let's do it up here. We're going to go and add formula, and we're going to call this due date formula. There you go. I want to go in here and go. If the due date is empty, that's what it's going to say. Close the brackets on empty, comma. I want you to propose created date. otherwise propose the due date, and close the brackets. Now you'll see here, in this we've got the due date, and in this, because there is no due date, we have the created time. Now what's great about this is, let's say that your recurring item was on the wrong day and you actually wanted it to be, rather than the Tuesday that it's currently on Friday as it's intended, I can do that and then it will actually filter up naturally like that, which is cool, so you can update it. But just to demonstrate this, I don't want to do that just yet. So that really means, doesn't it, that if we want our view to work for recurring tasks as well, we just have to go and change the property that our calendar layout is sorted by to the due date formula. Now, if we relate this to a project, we should see it turn up. And there it is. Really fantastic. So we know it now appears by that view. For something like a board view, it isn't going to show up. Or for example, a to-do list view, it also isn't going to show up. I'm going to group this by the due date formula. There you go, I'm going to hide that. And now you're seeing it turn up in the right place, which is really fantastic. If I want to move this now to a different due date, for example Friday, which is when Better Creating happens, I can do that and it moves it down. So all you're going to need to do is go through your views and adjust to the due date formula. And indeed, that therefore means that we need to go back to our projects and edit our project template so that this view is also sorted by due date formula. That is how we add recurring tasks into this system. Now, one more thought might be that you want to add recurring tasks without a project linked to them. And to do that, you're just going to have to filter slightly differently. So for example, if I go into this view, if I wanted to now remove the project from that and just have a related due date, clear that, just the day it was created, I'm going to have to adjust the filters very slightly. So there is a way to do that. I'm going to turn the top one, it's not done, into a group, and just copy this one that's below it into it, and where related project is not empty, and then turn this one to or where done is recurring today. You might want to change that to status if you wanted to do that, but that will mean anything that is recurring will just turn up on the right day. So that is another option for you if you wanted to create a slightly different filter to allow yourself to have recurring today items without project. So there you go, calendar views, deadline views, you've got your new project reports, your new project templates, and you've got your recurring tasks set up. Now, if all this is whetting your appetite to go further with Notion, definitely check out bettercreating.com for more on how my epic LifeOS templates can help you out and other great productivity downloads. Next, in the Notion from Scratch series, we'll add some serious functionality to your Notion productivity setup, subtasks and dependent tasks. It's a big one, including all the reporting views and filters to make those work. And if you think you might enjoy some of my other content on making life a little easier in one of these videos next, then click on it. And don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe to Better Creating if you haven't, and I'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.